Hi, we're at the demonstration kitchen here in Kohler, and today we're going to be doing cheddar and ale mac and cheese. To start this off, we're going to make a cheese sauce, a very quick sauce in the pan. So I have some bacon that we're going to brown off, and we're going to save all the fat in there. We're going to add some flour to it to thicken up the sauce. Other ingredients in this sauce, we're going to use some ale, so we have some Guinness here. Now when you're cooking with beer, you can use what you like. I always go with the philosophy that, if you're going to drink it, you can cook with it. Don't be, going and getting the cheapest thing at the store. So use good product, and you're going to end up with good product at the end. Other ingredients in this is we're going to use a little bit of half and half. If you don't have half and half, you can just use some milk. 2% milk works great. And then for this recipe, we're using cheddar cheese. This is just a sharp cheddar. If you wanted to, you could add a little bit of aged cheddar in there. A little bit of 5-year cheddar and mac and cheese just gives it that extra flavor profile, but we're just going to use some aged cheddar. So our bacon is starting to brown off in the pan, and to speed this along, we're just going to add a little bit of butter, and this is going to melt down. And what we're going to do after the butter is melted and the bacon's browned off is we're going to make a roux, and a roux is equal parts of fat and flour. So in this case, butter and the rendered fat from the bacon, and then we're going to add flour to it and start to cook that out. So you can see our bacon is starting to crisp up, get a little darker in color, and the butter's melting. So now what we're going to do is whisk in a little bit of flour, and you'll see this is going to start to thicken up and absorb all the fat. And you can measure it out depending on how many tablespoons of butter you put in, or you can do like I'm doing and just kind of add it a little bit at a time. What you want to see is kind of everything come together and start to thicken up. So now that it's all absorbed, what we're going to do is add beer to the pan. So you can see there's some brown bits on the bottom of the pan, and with the beer it's actually going to kind of deglaze that and pick up all those pieces of flavor. And with the beer you can see it reduces quickly. And then from here we're just going to add our half and half, and this is going to be a sauce for the macaroni and cheese. So we're going to stir this in. It's going to start to dissolve the roux that we made. And what we're going to do is bring this up to a boil and then let it simmer and cook out. So now our sauce has come up to a boil and has cooked out a little bit. So the next step is we're going to add our cheese. So I have some cheddar cheese that's shredded, and we're just going to whisk this in. And one other thing with your sauce, the darker the beer you use, the darker your sauce is going to be. So this might not be, if you're using a lager or something lighter, it's going to be more white in color. This one is going to be a little bit more pale. You can see once you add the cheese to it, the color of the cheese comes out into the sauce. So while it's still at a simmer, we're just going to whisk in the cheese until it's melted in. You don't want to do this over high heat or the cheese will kind of separate and you'll get a little bit of separation in your sauce. So now that our cheese is incorporated, we're going to mix it with the pasta. And what I did with this is I used some macaroni that I cooked off ahead of time. And what we did is just undercooked it a little bit because we're going to bake this in the oven, so you don't want to have mushy pasta at the end of it in your mac and cheese. So you don't have to use macaroni. You can use, if you wanted to make this more for an entree, you could use penne pasta, something that's a little bit larger. Or if you just have a favorite pasta or something else to use up in your kitchen, feel free to use that. So what we're going to do is pour our sauce, which is warm, over the macaroni. And since this is going to bake as well, you want to add a little bit more sauce because the pasta is actually going to absorb some of it as it bakes in the oven. So we're just going to stir this until it's all coated. And then we're going to add it to I have a oven-proof pan here that we're going to put it in. And to top this off, to give it a little bit more crunch on the top, we're going to add some breadcrumbs, a little bit more cheese, and some fresh parsley. So we're going to add that in there. And we have some panko breadcrumbs. Just going to give it a nice little crunch on the top. A little bit extra cheese, give it that nice golden brown color. and then some parsley. And from here we're going to put it in the oven at about 400 degrees and we're going to brown it off. Alrighty, so it's been about 6 minutes in the oven and the dish is warm, so we're going to set that down on top of a napkin. But here's our cheddar and ale macaroni and cheese, topped with some breadcrumbs and fresh parsley.